guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, we're going to be looking at how we can unroot deep-rooted beliefs and really understanding how our general expectations about how our life is going and how it will continue to go is going to shape the kind of experiences that we have, and that when we change the way we see ourselves and our beliefs about what is true, then we begin to change ourselves from the inside out. Now, I talk a lot in my videos about how our beliefs are creating our kind of experiences, but in this video, I wanted to focus on the general consensus about just who we are, the more generalities with the way that people treat us, with how we fit into the world, with how life is meant to go for us, and that when we get to a lot of the core of what we believe to be true, that's how we then make the change. So the general deep-rooted beliefs come from, of course, reference experiences. Something that happened in our past where in a moment we just simply decided that this is who we are. Maybe subconsciously, maybe consciously. But the way that you find your deep-rooted beliefs about just the general way that life works is ask yourself this question: how does life unfold? Life is like blank. Think of that. Life is like, a box of chocolates. Life is like whatever saying that you find is something that you believe. Maybe life is like for you a game. It has a certain meaning behind it. There's a certain energy behind that. If you think life is a game, then you think that you can influence the outcome of things. There's a certain energy about it. If you think that life is hard, if you think that life is, there's no control over it, get to the core of finishing that sentence. Life is like blank. What is life like? You'll realize that your language for the way that you say that life is like this will continue to perpetuate the lens that you see your life through, and will continue to attract situations to you that are in resonance with what that is. So let's even bring it to another general understanding. People treat me blank. People treat you with respect. People treat you well. People treat you like garbage. People treat you... What is the way that you would specify how people treat you? Now, when you start to look at these fundamental core beliefs and you start to see the language for the way that you view it, that will, in that language, will tell you what you believe to be true. Now, what about money? Money comes blank. Does money come easily? Does money come with extremely hard work? Does money come and go? How do you view money, and how does money view you? In a funny way. But as you begin to shift and ask these questions, you will be uprooting and starting to see what beliefs you have about who you are, and in the more general sense, you will be able to then first off become aware of it, which is one of the first steps. You have to become aware of what before was subconscious. Because when we think that life is just something you never know what you're gonna get, a lot of times that's on autopilot. We're not consciously aware of it. It's just simply how we see the world, and it's the lens through which we see things. A lot of times I have to remind myself and get to the core of what I believe to be true by asking the question, because my beliefs are blind to me. Very easy for me to work with someone and see the limiting beliefs, but it's hard for me to see it within my own self because I am blind to my own perception. So, ask yourself these questions, these generalities about whatever situation you want. So, money, relationships are blank. Relationships come and go. Relationships are reflections of who I am. Relationships, and I attract blank. I attract this type of person, maybe someone that's controlling, manipulative, maybe someone that's amazing and that you enjoy spending time with. Find out and ask these questions, then you become aware of the beliefs. Now, if your intention is to change the association you have with whatever beliefs it is, you can get to the core of that subject. So maybe the subject is relationships or money. And when you look at that connotation, that subject, then you can ask yourself, why do I believe that life is so hard? Why do I believe that money comes and goes? Then you ask the question and you see that there's a reference experience from when you were young. And if you don't see it completely, it doesn't really matter. It's about just asking the question and finding out what you do believe to be true. But if you can find that reference experience, it will be very powerful, because then you can reframe it and see that it's no longer what you prefer to experience. So maybe you see, and you were talking about money, and you think that money comes and goes and that you never have enough, and you get and ask your brain, your mind, the question, what would I have to believe is true, and what reference experience showed me this? You then remember that your mom always stressed about money and that you never had enough to get what you want. You remember maybe even when you were 16 years old and you started to have your own money, that you went out with friends and you never had money to go to the movies or whatever it is, and you start to remember these reference experiences, and you're able to then see how it perpetuated themselves. Now, as you become aware of it, you can then reframe it by first off becoming okay with that was something that you believed and that was a reference experience that you had. Don't resist that reference experience. But then what you can simply decide is that that is no longer who you are. It was a pattern that was on autopilot, and that now that you are aware of it, you've brought that into the light, you can simply decide it's not who you are going forward. As you have that perspective, you will then let it go, and you can then simply decide who you prefer to be. You can go from this point going forward and change the way you view each of those subjects, whether it's life in general, whether it's relationships, whether it's money. Start to become aware of what your language patterns are for that, how you define it to be, and as you begin to do that, you become aware of it, you can then decide to let it go, because you are now bringing it into the light, and you can decide to be who you are, and you can decide what you prefer to believe. So maybe you can change from life is like a box of chocolates and you never know what you're gonna get, which isn't necessarily even a bad thing, but you can start to become aware that life is what you make it to be. Life is what you intend it to be. You can start to be aware of money coming and going, as money is a reflection of you doing what you love to do for a living. That money comes to you because of the value you add to other people. With relationships, instead of, thinking I need someone else to complete me, I am whole and complete already, and I intend to attract the person that can reflect that wholeness back to me. You see, once we become aware of the unconscious beliefs that we have for how we see the world, then we can simply decide that that's no longer who we are. We see that a lot of our beliefs are records of past experiences. From that point, we can simply decide that we are who we choose to be in the present moment, and that as we have this perspective, everything begins to change. So I believe you can radically change your life by becoming aware of these language patterns for the way you see the world, almost the lens through which you see, and that as you begin to do that, you will start to see the new reflection. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you guys on the next vid. Peace, much love, namaste. All right, bye-bye.